Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot and a PMDG 777 beta tester. Today we are going to fly the latest update of the PMDG 777-300ER and we'll take her from Rome Fiumicino by MK Studios over to fly Tampa's lovely Toronto airport. In this flight we are going to check out the new flight dynamics, respectively the new fly-by-wire control laws that PMDG have reworked. And we are featuring the absolutely fantastic Vancouver Winter Olympics livery from Hughes by Horizon that just looks so fantastic on the 777, doesn't it? I mean, this is from 2010, so it's a little older, but nonetheless, I really do enjoy the looks of this one. Okay then, I'd say we are gonna get straight into this one and start setting our airplane up for today's service. And then we can go ahead and get this show down onto the road over here. Okay, so follow me inside and we'll start preparing our airplane for today's service. Now, it's 9:35 in the morning over here and our scheduled off-block time is 10 something. So we do have a little bit of time available, so let's use that time to review our flight plan. Now, here's what today's flight plan looks like. We are departing from Rome and then heading across Nice, across southern France and Normandy, up via the southern tip of England, Land's End down there, and then just south of Ireland, crossing the North Atlantic on track Foxtrot, entering Newfoundland, and then with a direct course to Toronto. Now, our weather on the first part of the flight is looking excellent, and there is a jet stream crossing left to right at a rather low level, but that's associated with numbers 3 and number 2, which is severe turbulence for number 2 for that short part of the flight here from 30 west, and moderate turbulence for the little bit longer part over here as we're crossing the jet stream. Now, the other half of the Atlantic brings us pretty much the same thing down there. Number 1 is that area over here. Again, severe turbulence forecast all the way to flight level 400. And then we are crossing that area number 2, which is moderate turbulence. So overall, it looks like this is going to be a fairly turbulent flight. Now, for our weather, Rome has absolutely fantastic weather conditions here. Clear skies, temperature 12 degrees. And Toronto, the weather forecast is quite okay. Not exactly perfect, but 260 at 17, gust 30, and then for our arrival time we're looking at gust 25 with some low-lying clouds and perhaps some rain. Their alternate in Montreal isn't particularly great either, 230 at 18, gust 35, but that's down the runway, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem from our side. Finally, let's have a look at the weather for our ETOPS airports, and that is Shannon down here, which is fantastic, and then we have St. John's on the other side, which is also fantastic. You can disregard that stuff, that's only going to be in the evening. May be relevant for the next flight of the plane, definitely not for ours. Now, looking to the flight plan, departing Rome at 10:25, and we are not critical with any weights. Cruising level 320 at first, crossing the pond in flight level 340, and then 360 at on the other side. Now, scrolling down a bit into the fuel section, we're going to ask ourselves, are we going to need any extra fuel today or not? I would say probably not, because overall, except for a little bit of turbulence, the forecast is looking quite fine. If we need to fly lower, we always have the contingency fuel available, and we have 45 minutes of alternate fuel for Montreal. So I'd say, looking down here, flying 2000 lower only uses 300 kilos extra, so the contingency absolutely covers for that. Therefore, since fuel is expensive these days, let's not load any extra. We're going to make this 90 tons of fuel, and with that we are good to go. Alright then, so 90 tons of fuel, the decision is made. Then let's go right down into the electronic flight bag. By the way, I do love small details like that Air Canada logo on the electronic flight bag that Hughes by Horizon are constantly putting into this. Okay, so flight plan is here. Then let's go for the weight and balance. Load that stuff from SimBrief, please, and then we can go down into the precise loading and we'll set this to 90 tons. Okay, here we go. That's quite amazing, isn't it? Just 62%, even though we are doing a 10-hour flight down here. I just so love the performance of the 777. Okay then, let's go ahead and get started. Aileron on, voice recorder on. Then on the left side we'll want the status page, on the right side we want the door page, and on the center the engine pages. So let's see, engine oil quantity is okay, not completely full but okay. Hydraulics are looking good, oxygen is looking good. And let's do the oxygen test straight away. 1 and 2. Also gonna get the armrests down straight away. Okay, so recall, and just a quick check over everything, making sure that all those messages are expected, and indeed they are. Alright, then we can head down into the flight information, ATIS request, and we're looking for Lima, India, Romeo, Foxtrot, Rome, say intentions, and send that please. Okay, so that's our initial airplane acceptance pretty much done. At this point we could start with the boarding. I'm not going to use GSX because they just take so incredibly long with the 777. So we'll just assume that that's going on in the background there. Doors are open anyway. Okay. And I am going to open a second door because, you know, in the real world we'd absolutely do that. Just the sim that only has a single jetway. But look at that. Here's the second jetway. We'll assume that that's connected to the front. Alright, with that, our boarding is ongoing. Now we do have an ATIS. That's departing. Runway is 25, wind 07085, cabo K, 12 degrees, 1024. So a little bit of a tailwind there. 1024. Okay, and that is set, and that is set 3 times. Excellent. Great, then we can go right down into the FMS setup. So starting down here, FMC, 777-300 G90 engine nav database is up to date. Copy paste the GPS position, and then we can do a route request from SimBrief, which we can select down here. Okay, gotta give it a short while until that uplink is done. Let's use that time to prepare our departure charts. Alright, and what's that latest ding dong? Running new ATIS, I guess. Okay, yeah, expect Rome, satellite gate 709. We got that. Did we get anything else? I mean, we are in Rome already, so didn't particularly need that. Okay, and here is our route uplink. So we can connect the airport chart, we can connect the parking stand charts, and then we need our standard instrument departure. This is always a little bit of fun here. Nanic 5 Alpha to Giglio. So the only question is, which SID connects to the Nanic 5 Alpha? So we first of all gotta find that Nanic thing. As you can see, there are lots of them. Here it is, Nanic 5 Alpha. And that thing leads us to Nanic. And that, oh lovely, they added to the charts. So Nanic 5 Alpha to Giglio 8 Charlie. Perfect. That makes it so much easier. Thank you so much, Chapason, for doing that. Okay, cool. Then we just need that Giglio 8 Golf transition from there. Oh, but there is an error on the chart. Look at that. Giglio 8 Golf, Giglio 9 Golf. From Nanic, isn't it? Let's pin that, have a look. Oh yeah, that's definitely from Nanic. Okay. So yeah, nonetheless, thank you very much for editing those charts. That makes our life so much easier as pilots. So 2-5, Nanic, what did we say? 5 Alpha, didn't we? And Giglio 9 Golf. That looks good. And then for the arrival, we're looking at Toronto's ILS approach, runway 23 for the time being. And we got the Ragged 6 Delta arrival, which is here. arriving from Udnox, which is that one. We don't need that Newt K transition for the time being. Enter, activate, execute. Okay, then let's have a look at our routes. So, Citra, Nanek. So, straight ahead to Romeo Fox 777, maximum speed 200 knots. Like that. Then we continue. Romeo Fox, no, that's not for us. So then it's a right hand turn, Romeo Fox 706, maximum 200 above 3000. Or, no, it is not. 791. That's okay. 788. And to Nanik, which is above 4000. So far, so good. Then we got the Giulio transition, which is Nanik to Giulio above level 100. That's all good. Execute. Alright, so route data, wind data, load. And execute. Now for the forecast uplink, we can download that one. Then let's go on into the progress page, 3,939 miles, which is checked against the flight plan. We don't need any radios, and we'll use Rome with a 25-mile ring for the MSA. So, climb page, transition altitude 6,000, and the chart has 6,000 as well. And then let's go to the performance uplink, accept that. See if there's any rounding error in there. No, if we add the 2, that's okay. At 9 tons, and there's, well, yeah, 9.1 is okay. 90 tons of fuel, flight level 320, cost dynamics 30, we'll take minus 44 degrees minimum fuel temperature, cruise CG 30, and then on to the takeoff reference page. Noise abatement, I think it was indeed number 1 here in Fiumicino, so we are going to use those figures. And that's it. Then we just have to cross-check our North Atlantic crossing. So let's go ahead and have a look at that. We are flying via track Foxtrot. So here's Foxtrot, Livery 5220, it's checked, 5230, checked, 5140, checked, 4950, checked, and Jopi. Then let's cross-check that those waypoints indeed have the correct latitude and longitude. So 5220 is checked. Then we have 5230, that is also checked. 5140 is also checked. And 4950 is also checked. Alright, those are all looking fantastic. Then we are basically done setting our FMS up over here, and you can have that page. Thank you very much. Then let's continue our setup. So everything's done up here. Everything is done up here, and up here. Moving us right down. QNH is checked. Auto brake RTO. Parking brake is set. And the pedestal is pretty much done. One to 1.5, and the rest is selected. TCAS onto above, Squawk Machine 2000 standby, and cabin interphone over here. Now let's find some frequencies. Airport chart. Fume delivery 1-to-1.8 and ground 1-to-1.9. I'm gonna tune ground straight away, but let's just deselect that for the time being, because I don't want to hear that chit chat all the time. And then later on, tower is probably on 118.7. Alright, so far so good. And then let's see, we got information India. Departure clearance request, Artis India, Our gate is 702. The facility, Lima, India, Romeo, Foxtrot, Ciao. Okay, Air Canada 891, facility Rome, from Rome to Toronto, Atis, India, 702, Ciao. And send. Alright, so clearance request is underway, then let's go ahead and start on the departure briefing, please. Oh, and that's the first answer already. So, flight being processed, stand by. Cancel, thank you. So, for the briefing, we are departing from Rome Fiumicino, runway 25. We got the Menace 8 Alpha Giulio 9 Golf, initial climb 6,000 feet, usually here in Fiumicino, and extra fuel and time is pretty much 0. So, hotspots for our taxi out, basically the entire airport. Rome is a little bit of a mess, so careful taxi, careful look out for anything that has wheels, so any cars, anything crossing taxiways here, and even other aircraft, as ATC is, yeah, usually okay, but not exactly always. Now, apart from that, our stop margin for the rejected takeoff is a couple meters. Engine outset straight at 25 miles to pick up the holding over there, and 3,000 over the water. That keeps us safe. If we make an immediate return, then 1-6 left and right, 3-4. Depends a little bit on what ATC is going to be using at the time. By the current review, no, not that one. That one, by the current review, they're using 1-6 left and right, so should be alright to return, even at the maximum, even at our current expected takeoff weight. Apart from that, what else do we have? Really nothing special, nothing non-standard. Do you see any threats for today's departure? I definitely do see air traffic control here. It's Italy. We'll do our best. If we lose, we lose. Okay, and that's it. So, cockpit preparation checklist, please. So there's oxygen, tested 100%, flight instruments, heading 336, altimeter 1024, reading 20, left and right. Pre-flight checklist complete. Okay, so here's our IFR clearance. We are cleared to Toronto via Nanit 5, Alpha departure, expect runway 25. And there's the Giulio 9 Golf missing in here, but definitely gonna get that. Maintain 4,000, departure on 125.5. Like that, and squawk 2136. 2136. Okay, we can accept that clearance. And with that, our FMS is checked. And here we go. Clearance is accepted. Thank you. Okay, great. So, I think I forgot the MCP during the setup. Such an Airbus thing that you just come back to it later on. Okay, and you can have something as well here. Okay, that's looking good. Perfect, then let's go ahead and say hello to our passengers. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning from Flight Deck. This is your captain speaking. My name is Emmanuel in the name of Air Canada. Welcome aboard our Boeing 777-300ER on our flight to Toronto. We're expecting a flight time of 9 hours and 45 minutes today, which is a little longer than usual due to some rather strong headwinds. Nonetheless, we are finishing up the last paperwork now, so that we should start our pushback in the next couple of minutes. Our route leads us via Nice up to Normandy and then across Land's End out to the Atlantic Ocean with an Atlantic crossing that might be a little bit bumpy today due to some of the aforementioned winds. We are expecting a cruise in 32,000 feet, climbing up to 36,000 throughout the course of the flight, and later on we will arrive with probably 10 minutes delay over in Toronto. Now, I'd like to thank you very much for being our guests today. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight with us. If there's anything we can do for you to make your flight more comfortable, please don't hesitate to ask any of our charming cabin crew members. Thank you very much for your attention, and once again, welcome aboard. Alright, so by now, the boarding should be completed, so let's go ahead and start working on the load sheet. Zero fuel weight 225.8. like that, and that gets us a gross weight of 315.8 with a takeoff CG at 29. So, performance tool, Fiumicino, runway 25, the weight 316, CG 29. So, the wind is 070 at 5, temperature 12, QNH 1024. LTI is off, air conditioning auto, and the rest is looking fantastic. Calculate, and that's a 38 degrees derated takeoff. Full blast, huh? Flaps 15. Wow. Okay, didn't expect that. So, flaps 15, CG 29, and the speed 62, 68, 75. That's all within 1 knot, so we can accept those. Trim should be 5 units, and that's checked, and with that our performance calculation is complete. Okay then, ground from cockpit. So we're running on the APU. You can remove any of the ground equipment as needed, and the parking brake is set. Roger that, we are clearing it up now, stand by. So you release all, you close all, and you remove the chocks. Okay. So everything is closing, all slides, and with that should be ready to go down here. Alright, then let's shout out to ground and get our pushback clearance, please. Okay then, are we clear to pressurize hydraulics? Yes, you're clear to pressurize. Thank you. So, LNAV, VNAV, 247 for the track, like that, and climb at 4,000. Okay, pressurizing. How much fuel do we have? Yeah, fuel in center is showing. Okay, then that thing comes on as well. 5 units trim. And the squawk machine goes on. Okay then, before start checklist. That's flight deck door. Closed and locked. MCP V2175 heading 247, altitude 4000. Takeoff speeds V1161, VR168, V2175. CDU pre-flight completed. Trim 5 units 0 and 0. Taxi and takeoff briefing completed. Before start checklist complete. Fiume ground, Air Canada 891 Heavy, request pushback and startup.
Air Canada 8901, pushback and start approved. Face west.
Pushback and start approved, face west, Air Canada 8901. Okay, before start checklist complete. Ground from cockpit. Push and start approved, facing west, and the parking brake is set. Roger, release brakes. Brakes released. Thank you, start on the push, and stand by for engine start. Roger that. Okay, so we're ready for startup over here, standing by for you. Yeah, you're clear to start engines. Roger that, starting 2, then 1. Engine 2 start.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Air Canada Flight 891, departing for Toronto. Our estimated flight time is approximately
Look at that lovely livery.
45 minutes. Please pay close attention to the upcoming safety demonstration.
They've really done well on that, haven't they?
Information, even for frequent flyers.
Hughes are just such talented painters.
By inserting
And Air Canada has talented designers for sure as well.
The seatbelt must be fastened whenever the seatbelt sign is illuminated. Please return your seat backs and tray tables to the upright position and open your window blinds for takeoff. Mobile phones and electronic devices must be set to flight mode, and larger devices should be securely stored. Smoking and the use of e-cigarettes are prohibited
Ground with Moza
anywhere
3 Bravo, taxi to the
including
gate.
lavatories.
Papa Bravo, taxi to parking via Alpha Echo Bravo Hotel Romeo Bravo Golf Echo Golf Hotel November Golf.
Life vests are located under your seat.
Alpha Echo Bravo Hotel Romeo.
Okay, that sounds like we have a good start on engine number 2, starting engine number 1.
Exit, which may be behind
Clear
you.
1,
In case of evacuation,
engine 1
leave
starts.
personal belongings behind and follow the cruise.
So, how's the Marshal doing? Still alive?
Electronic device becomes hot or catches
Yeah,
fire,
seems like it.
inform a crew member immediately. The safety information card in your seat pocket contains all details. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, the pushback is completed, set parking brakes. Parking brake set. Okay, and we have 2 good engine starts. You're clear to disconnect. Show me the pin on the right and have a good day. Bye-bye. There's something weird about the Boris sounds right now. I mean, it's very, very quiet until the packs are coming back on. Perhaps a little bit too quiet. Okay, so here's the tuck. Then let's start the flight control track. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral. Alright, that's the ramp agent holding a pin. Then we can check the rudder. Full left. Full right. And neutral. Okay, before taxi checklist. Anti-ice, auto, recall, checked, flight controls, checked, ground equipment, clear, before taxi checklist, complete. Air Canada 8921 Heavy, request taxi.
Air Canada 8901, runway 25 taxi via Victor Zulu Mike Tango Bravo Bravo Alpha.
Air Canada 8901, taxi holding point runway 25 via Victor Zulu Mike Tango Bravo Bravo Alpha. Alright. Victor Zulu Mike. Tango, Bravo, and Bravo Alpha is at the full length. So right around the apron, then first left, second right. Okay, we can definitely do that. Now do give me that chart, please. Thank you. Clear on the left side and clear on the right side. Parking brake is off. Let's go. So, new ground physics and taxi logic implemented in the aircraft. We're pretty heavy, so we do need a bit of thrust to get it moving here. But look at how she isn't accelerating as quickly as before. Now always remember that even though it's a heavy aircraft, the engines are still designed for that aircraft. So it's probably not going to feel as heavy as many flight simmers do think. Okay, so we're on an apron over here. That means maximum 15 knots, even though there is nobody parked on the right. But look at that, there is one of our A330s over there, hidden behind the jetway. Okay, the Aer Lingus is clear of where we are going, and there's the cabin ready. So weather and terrain, please. So 10 knots into the turn. Lovely level of detail on the side here, isn't it? Like all that clutter. I mean, it's not technically speaking clutter, it's all part of the airport, but I think you know what I mean. Alright, beautiful A330 over there. Probably the Montreal flight or the Vancouver one. Even though I think Vancouver is 787 or triple. Okay then. Tango is the next left. Where's the Aer Lingus? There it is. So 10 knots. Looks like the Aer Lingus is turning on to Bravo. Air Canada 8901, are we in front of the Aer Lingus?
Air Canada 8901, say again, please.
Yes, we are. He's holding. Good. Okay then, the right side is clear. And we know that the Aer Lingus is holding on the left side. Okay, now we continue all the way on Bravo to Bravo Alpha, and Bravo Alpha is basically the full length. So, let's review our takeoff briefing. It's a left seat takeoff runway 25 flaps 15, which I did correctly select. I didn't accidentally go for 5, that's good. And our takeoff speeds 161, 168, 175. The sit is straight out, initially 200 knots on the first waypoint, shouldn't be any problem with noise abatement procedure number 2. And then out to the right side, climb to 4000 and contact departure on 125.5 when advised by the tower. Apart from that, we got nothing special, we got nothing non-standard. Engine outs go straight out to 25, climbing 3000, and then we can return to either runway 16 left or runway 16 right. Slightly overweight, well, slightly quite a bit overweight, 50 tons, or maybe even 60 by the time we return, but not too shabby at all. Runways are pretty long here in Rome. Okay, and that's mostly it. Do you have any questions or suggestions? No? Alright. Then, before takeoff checklist. Before takeoff checklist complete. Okay, so we taxi Bravo Alpha, which is the full runway length, and that's it. And we can already clear that scratch pad. That looked confusing when one of those taxi lines just passed by. That looked really confusing. By the way, in case I haven't said anything good about the moving air traffic before, it's quite nice that the 787 ahead of us is actually taxiing that fast. I mean, I could imagine some add-ons where it would creep along at 10 knots, and we definitely do not want to do that. Alright, so that's Bravo Delta in front, so we keep going for a bit.
905 Victor, runway 25 taxi via Charlie Foxtrot, Romeo Bravo, Bravo Alpha.
Runway 25 taxi via Charlie Foxtrot, Romeo Bravo, Bravo Alpha, Ryanair 9.
Did I just say it was nice that the 787 is moving so fast? Now it's slowed down. I mean, 18 knots on the taxiway is okay, maybe they're still waiting for the cabin to get ready or something like that. So that's absolutely fine.
Roger. Pushback approved. Ice Air 63, Lima.
And now they're accelerating again. That's completely fine with me. I'm just gonna let it roll like this, because at the end of the day, they have to depart in front of us anyway. Then there's wake turbulence separation, and I just don't want to get too close because of jet blast as well. Fantastic livery. Really a fantastic livery. Hughes is doing great work on those. And by the way, look at how large the 777 really is. I mean, the engines are almost over the edge of the taxiway here. Oh, that's some lag. Hello. Here we are going again.
I-63 Lima, runway 25 taxi via Echo.
That was interesting.
Bravo Alpha.
Runway 25 taxi via Echo Bravo, November Golf, November Bravo.
Okay, Bravo Alpha second left, and that's behind the 787 again.
Air Canada 8901, contact tower on 127.625. Have a good afternoon.
127.625 Air Canada 8901, you too. Okay, so here's Bravo Alpha. We are behind the 787. And now let's take it nice and slow, because I do not want to enter the jet blast when he's lining up. Fiume Tower, Air Canada 8901 Heavy, ready for departure.
Air Canada 8901, Heavy Fiume Tower, runway 25, hold short, you're number 1 behind the 789.
That's an interesting lineup that he's doing. I'll just take it, no comment on that. Alright, let's take a second to talk about what we're expecting from our fly-by-wire now that it's been revised for the takeoff. First of all, there have been a couple posts on the internet that it would be rotating too quickly above 10 degrees pitch. Now, I do want to comment a little bit on what's actually happening there, now that we have the time available here. So, brake set, taxi lights off. So what's happening during rotation? So the elevator of the 777, as the tail moves down for the rotation, the elevator eventually moves into the turbulence created by the wing and the engine. That means that the elevator is losing effectiveness. Therefore, at some point during the rotation, the airplane is going to be rotating slower. That happens at about 7.5 to 8 degrees pitch. In order to resume a normal rate, you then have to pull a bit further on the control column, and then when the elevator exits that turbulence, so that's about at 10-11 degrees pitch, obviously you have to relax that elevator again in order to compensate for the greater elevator effectiveness. Therefore, a proper rotation looks somewhat like this. Pull, hold, until you're at about 8, then pull a little bit further, and once you're getting out of the deadband, you've got to relax that again. And then you can achieve a nice and constant rate of rotation, all the way up to 15 degree pitch, as you are meant to by the flight manuals. Alright, so that's what we're doing for the rotation. Now once we're airborne, the airplane will transition into the C*U flight control law. That basically means that the aircraft is flying stable on its speed that you have trimmed. What's happening internally is that the airplane sets a target speed for the trim, and when you're on that speed, it's going to be dead stable on the pitch. When you leave your trim speed, so when you're mistrimmed, then the airplane is going to respond naturally like any other airplane also would, and simply pitch into the direction as needed, just like a conventional aircraft would do. What's nice about the C*U flight control laws, though, is that they will counter any of the trim changes of the plane that happens by controlled surface movement. So whether that's retraction of the landing gear, extension of the spoilers, retraction of the flaps, and so on. So you do not need to trim for any of these, unlike you'd have to do on a conventional aircraft. And that's what's really the nice thing about the C-Star-U flight control laws that the 777 has implemented. So overall, a great feature, but not the very same as Airbus, which is a mistake that many people make when assuming how the 777 should fly. No, it's not the same as Airbus. It still kind of flies conventionally, but you don't have to trim for gear, flap, and speed brake or thrust changes. Only if you want to change your airspeed, then you have to trim the airplane. So that's quite the cool system. Alright, now, did that 787 reject the takeoff? No, it didn't. Air Canada 8901 Heavy is ready for departure. 2 minutes for wake turbulence separation should be over by now. So let's see if we can get our takeoff clearance.
8901 Heavy, runway 25, wind 070 at 5. RNAV, Romeo Foxtrot 777, cleared for takeoff.
Runway 25, clear for takeoff, Air Canada 87, direction 8901 Heavy. Okay, the brakes are released. Checklists are complete, a little bit of traffic, but only approaches to 16 right, so no problem. Okay, so let's see how we can put that theory that we just talked about in practice. Everything's clear on the right hand side, we're clear on the left hand side. Then let's do a proper lineup here. Again, do not follow the yellow line, that's just for vacating the runway, not for entering it. And then, are you ready for departure? Takeoff. So a little bit forward control column over here, stabilized, set thrust. Thrust set. Checked. Control column neutral. So, pull, hold, approaching the deadband, pull a bit more, leaving the deadband, relax a bit, and here we go. Gear up. So, as you can see, really easy. And that works really well. You just have to apply the correct technique on the control column. So, LNAV, VNAV. So now, let's release that control column. We're in the trim speed. Plane is dead stable. Fly turn. I'm just using the aileron, no elevator. And again, dead stable, just like it should be.
Contact departure on 125.5.
125.5 at Canada 8901. So now that we've changed to climb thrust, you'll notice that the speed is dropping a bit, and you'll see that the plane is actually responding just like any normal aircraft would. By lowering the nose a little bit, since we are a bit slower than planned, exactly like it should. Fume departure Air Canada 8901 Heavy, passing 2,800, climbing 4,000. So I haven't done a single elevator input ever since pitching at 15 degrees.
901 Heavy, Rome departure identified, climb via the SID.
Climb via the SID, Air Canada 8901 Heavy. Alright, only now that we are accelerating, I'm pitching forward, and flaps 5. Speed checked. Flaps 5. So a little bit of forward trim, then we can neutralize the control column, and it is nicely accelerating. Flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. Again, bit of forward control column. You always fly the airplane on the
8901, contact Rome radar on 132.525.
132.525 at Canada 8901. Okay, flaps up. Speed checked. Flaps up. Okay, reaching the target speed, swivel pitch, and here we go, alt hold. Run radar, Air Canada 891 Heavy, maintaining 4,000 feet. Okay, we got flaps up, no lights, and the NES is in auto. After takeoff checklist. After takeoff checklist complete. 1027 Air Canada 891. Wow, that's quite the change. But okay, here it is, 1027. Now, in order to fly level, when the plane is trimmed, you really don't need to do much. Just make sure that it stays in trim. So, look at that. Trimmed out. Now we do have slight speed variations, that is why we got some slight vertical speed variations as well here. But look at that. Very easy to fly. Doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Okay then. Autopilot on. As you can see, flies beautifully now. You just need to apply the correct technique. That is most important here. Air Canada 891, request further climb. Barrow said disagree. Oh yeah.
Air Canada 8901, descend requested altitude, QNH 1024.
No descent. Climb. In the real world, they normally clear to flight level 150 here. Let's ask for that. Air Canada 891, request climb flight level 150. This climb via SID is a little bit botched in Sane Tensions AI.
Air Canada 8901, climb flight level 150.
Here we go. Climb flight level 150, Air Canada 891. Set 150 checked. So the way that Sane Tensions have implemented the climb via SID command is that they think it clears you to a higher altitude. Like in the US when they tell you to descend via the star, but they also always give you an altitude with that. And in the real world what they do in many places is to tell you climb via SID to flight level something. But together with this climb via SID you always have to get an altitude instruction as well. You can't just climb to an undefined altitude. Okay. So with that, we're airborne. I gotta say though, it was a very nice exercise to level the plane off to show off some of the fly-by-wire changes there. Now, we are climbing, so let's go ahead and have a look into some of the important things here. 2015, let's just get the latest weather. And the schedule is 2000. Okay. Might have to fly a little bit faster there. Is that stun out? Stun out, cross check. Passing flight level 67. Now. Checked. Okay, latest winds are here. 2015 still. That's with what cost index? 30. Let's see. Fuel remaining. 15, 13.5. Let's go CI80. 10, 13.3. Yeah, definitely going to do that. Does it make sense to go even faster? Cost index 150 maybe? 07, 12.3. Yeah, absolutely going to do that. More is probably not going to make sense. That's already 0.83, which is pretty fast for the 777. But let me try 8.4. What are we going to get then?
Air Canada 8901, climb flight level 270.
Well, level 270, Air Canada 891. Set. 270 checked. Alright, so 8.4 it is. 08, 13.4. Good enough for me. Best we can get.
Dear guests, the use of approved electronic devices is now permitted in flight mode. Cabin service...
Okay, lights off, signs off, and everything is set up. Then we are nicely climbing. Optimum 312, plan 320, sounds good. Maximum 332, so we do have some margin as well. Alright, so 320/0.84 for the climb then. No, erase, 320/0.84. That way. Okay, that's looking good. And if we're on it already, 0.085 even. Okay. Are we going to enter that? Let's do it this way. Then we got 8.4 everywhere. Alright then. So, that's everything I can offer you for now. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight with us. And then I'll see you all on the other side of the pond. Okay guys, we are on the approach and you just heard our traffic control. We are descending on the altimeter 2975 and expecting the ILS runway 23, which is what we got in the box down there. And we don't need that CPDLC message there any longer, and then we can start to talk about our arrival. So let's start with the thing that is immediately evident, and that is our descent. And if we look at the rigid 6 arrival, and if that thing actually opens, you'll find that we got Denka at 220 knots and 7,000 feet. That is of course rather slow for this position, but if that's what the star wants, ATC cleared us to descend via the star, then that is what we are going to fly. Now apart from that, we are looking at some interesting weather over in Toronto as well. Let's go ahead and pull that up real quick. Here's the ATIS, Toronto information, Victor, arriving runway 23, 270 at 20, visibility 10, broken 3100, 7 degrees, 2975, and that is exactly what we got in everywhere. Okay, now let's go ahead and have a look into the approach. It will be the ILS for runway 23. That means we'll have quite a bit of taxi to do later on, but okay, so be it. Now minimum 808, MSA 3100, and standard 3 degree slope here out of 3000, so pretty easy going. Just remember that 3000 over here equals 2500 over the runway threshold, So soon after starting our descent, we will also have to start configuring the aircraft for the approach. Now, taxi in is a little bit more interesting over here, as we're landing on runway 23 today. We're parking up here, so 23, vacate down there, and then all the way in. That's going to be a rather long taxi here, but okay. It's not like we are delayed anyway. The scheduled on block is supposed to be now. So yeah, that's in the back of our minds when we are flying, when we are landing over here. Obviously nothing we can do about it, because all the speeds, everything is given, so we have no useful way to accelerate this approach. Well, and that's the general situation here on the arrival. Now let's go ahead and do the approach briefing and see what we're gonna get into. So we got an MSA of basically 3,000 feet, rigid 6 arrival onto the ILS approach runway 23, starting in 3,000, minimum 808. The go around is onto the 237 heading, intercept the 287 in the ICDOT, climbing to 3,000, and extra fuel and time. We got 11.6, we need 9.1, that gives us roughly 2,000 kilos extra. That's about 15 minutes. Okay, I suppose then it's my turn now, and we are going to fly that ILS approach with flight director guidance, flaps 30, auto brakes 3, maximum reverse, vacate runway to the left. Hotspots for taxi in, we got 2 runway crossings, 15 right, 15 left, and then eventually we end up somewhere up here at the gate. Apart from that, no, well, yeah, there is one hotspot, that's number 2 up there. A little careful with arriving and departing traffic approaching one another over here. Okay, well, the runway is 3,400 meters almost, so there is no problem with the stop margin whatsoever, and I got nothing special, I got nothing non-standard. Anything from your side? No? Alright, then that's our approach being completed. So, cabin ready, that's perfect. We're passing 10,000. Lights, signs, and now also the no electronic sign. Okay, and that's it. Questions? No? Lovely, then that's our approach briefing completed. And approach checklist, please. Altimeters, QNH 29075. Approach checklist complete. I don't like it when the ISFD stands out that much, so let's just go ahead and dim that a bit. Okay, look at that. 70 knots headwind, 240 indicated, and 216 ground. So that's about 3.5 miles a minute. We got 40 miles to cover, so that's a little more than 10 minutes to get all the way down there. So yeah, the Denka altitude restriction is definitely pretty low, especially for those wind conditions, but obviously altitude constraints don't care about wind. Just something to have in the back of our minds over here. Maybe we can ask ATC if we can maintain 250 knots. Air Canada 8901 Heavy, can we maintain speed 250 knots?
Air Canada 8901 Heavy, maintain speed 250 knots, approved.
Thank you, speed 250 knots approved, Air Canada 8901 Heavy. Okay, so speed 250. I got VNAV speed, but come on. Don't do this. Speed, vertical speed. CP2C service terminated. Thank you, and bye-bye. Lock off is checked. Thank you. 1,000 to go. So reaching 7,000 perfectly over at Denka. That's what we're looking for. Now that weather is definitely not what we're looking for, but hey, looks good. That's a very nice livery. No. I am repeating myself here, but it is. Great job, Hughes. Great job. I should probably not be taking that many screenshots on approach though, but hey, rather do it now than having to do it later, right? because it is looking amazing. Okay, so 250, 7,000, Denka. Here we go. Now this is not an approach transition. We can continue that approach over here, right? Yes, we can. Perfect.
Air Canada 8901 Heavy, proceed direct Calvi. Descend and maintain 3,000 feet. Altimeter 2975 until established on the localizer cleared for the ILS runway 23 approach.
Okay, 3,000 vertical speeds.
Calvi. Descend and maintain 3,000 feet. Altimeter 2975. Cleared for the ILS runway 23 approach. Air Canada 8901.
Okay, lovely. We're cleared for the approach. We are receiving India Yankee Zulu. And that is correct. Okay, great. So that lovely stuff is done. The approach checklist is already completed. Then we can just go down over here and then we'll start the approach. Pretty much all standard. Now let's get a little bit below the profile because we're flying quite a bit faster than what VNAV has in it. We could of course just override that, 250. Huh, replaces it with 220. Okay. Well, in that case, we'll just go a little bit below the VNAV profile and just do that stuff ourselves. So, 9.5 hours in flight. That's quite the long trip. I didn't really expect that. Toronto always sounds like 8 hours to me, but obviously from Rome it's a little bit longer than it would be from Germany or the rest of Western Europe. Ooh, fantastic. They're looking lovely once again, isn't it? Okay then, let's go and have some fun. Manual flight and manual thrust. Alright, let's add a bit of power here, looking for about 1,000 feet a minute. Now, what are we expecting to see from our fly-by-wire system on this approach? Basically, it should simply keep the speed stable, and we should not need to trim when we are, you know, extending the gear, moving the flaps, that kind of stuff. And I'm fairly positive that we won't have to do any of that, but nonetheless, gotta be safe. Now, if the 777 seems to be doing some strange stuff like you think you should be in trim, but nonetheless it is moving a little bit, there's a little thing called the blip trim. Now this is something that the real 777 has as well, and when your target trim speed is somewhere within, I think it's 3 or 4 knots or something, of your actual airspeed, and you then just press the trim once, like this, then that triggers the blip trim, and that immediately centers your trim speed onto your present airspeed. So very useful feature, but you gotta know that it's there and you gotta know how to use it. Okay, approach on, then we can start dialing that stuff down. Okay, deceleration, quite easy. As always, you fly the airplane on the elevator, and then you use the trim to neutralize the forces. So just like any conventional aircraft. So it looks like there's someone going 1,000 above us. Now you can definitely trim the 777 like any conventional aircraft, but a little bit of knowledge of what the system is doing definitely helps as well. Basically, 1 second of trim equals 10 knots of trim speed. And when you use that, it becomes very, very easy to fly the aircraft. Alright, flaps 1. Speed checked.
Air Canada 8901, contact Toronto Tower on 118.35.
Flaps 5. Speed checked.
Toronto Tower on 118.35. Air Canada 8901, heavy.
No, we don't need any thrust at this point.
Toronto Tower, Air Canada
Lock.
8901. Good afternoon. Established on the ILS runway 23 approach.
Air Canada 8901, heavy, Toronto Tower, roger, continue approach. Air Canada 8901, heavy, winds 270 at 20, runway 23, clear to land.
Okay, 270 at 20, so that's 30 degrees from the right, 20 knots. So we'll use 10 knot VREF addition, that's 155 on the final. So, nicely trimmed. Easy. Fly stop capture, go around altitude 3000 set. And now look at that. We are still on speed. We're just letting go of the yoke and it maintains whatever pitch we're setting here.
1874, hold short of runway 15
As long as we're on speed, there's no problem
holding short of runway
with that at all.
left, United 1874.
Of course, when you're leaving your target speed, that's when things are probably gonna go wrong. Alright, gear down, flaps 20. So, look at how we're completely changing the aircraft's configuration, and we are just slowing down slightly, so I just need a little bit of trim there for the deceleration. Flaps 30, set speed 155. And that's it. Apart from that, the plane just keeps flying. Looks like I expected the engines to accelerate a little bit too fast. Lost a bit of speed, gonna regain that.
Short of runway 15 left. 15 left, United 1874.
And again, look at how she just flies. So, alignment checklist. Alignment checklist complete. Checked. So the runway's on side on our 12 o'clock. Fantastic.
Approaching 2, 3.
Checked.
United 1874, hold short of runway 15 left.
So we're on the poppy.
15 left, United 1874.
500.
Checked. Fantastic. Some small control inputs are needed right now because of a bit of turbulence here, but mostly on the
300.
ailerons. The elevator barely needs any inputs here.
Minimum.
Continue. Now going over those houses, a little bit of work we gotta do here.
100. 50. Flight slow. Flight slow.
Shut up.
20. 10.
I don't want to know what that guy's doing there. We'll just ignore him. So, speed brake up, thruster is normal. United, you're supposed to approach the taxiway, not the runway edge. 100 knots, manual brakes.
8901, contact ground on 119.1.
60 knots. And here we are. Welcome to Toronto.
Switching to ground on 119.1.
That bogus glide slope warning on the final was annoying, because that really hampered our flare. Because the glide slope, or the GPWS, has priority over the radar altimeter.
Toronto ground, Air Canada 8901. Good afternoon, cleared of runway. Ready to taxi to the gate.
Air Canada 8901, Toronto ground, taxi to Terminal 1, Gate 67 via Hotel 2, Hotel Golf, Echo, Tango, Alpha Lima 8. Good day.
Approaching runways.
Okay, so we just get a hold short here for a second. Air Canada 8901, can we cross runway 15 right?
Air Canada 8901, cross runway 15 right.
Crossing 15 right, Air Canada 8901. Okay, the aft landing stuff is complete. Then let's see about our taxi route. Hotel Golf Echo. So, Hotel Golf Echo. Then Tango Alpha Lima to the gate over there. Alright, easy routing is understood. So yeah, now it's gonna be a little bit of taxiing, I'd say. I see you when we're approaching the gate. Okay guys, we're crossing runway 15 left, and then it's Alpha Lima 8 to the gate now. So we're in Alpha Lima, then number 8 is over here, and 167 is on the right. So strobe lights off, start APU. So 15 knots entering the apron, and I think we're parking next to the 777 over there. So entering the apron, spot 8, left side's clear, right side's clear. Engine shutdown right is checked. We are doing single engine taxi over here, more than light enough. Okay, and a gate is the second one behind that thing, so this one. Yeah. Right of the 777 as expected. Even though I can tell you, this is not gonna fit.
Ground Rouge 1675, taxi to
Those wings there, yeah, that's not fitting. I'm deactivating the AI traffic. Like this. Okay, lights off. Okay, so the guidance system is on, 777-300ER is on there. So another couple of meters. 3, 2, 1, stop. So, parking brake set, APU running, and shutdown. Cabin crew, all doors in park. Okay, here we are. Number 1 is running down. Okay, squawk machine. Standby and 2000. So parking brake is set, and up here everything's set. Okay, shutdown checklist, parking brake, set, shutdown checklist complete. Well then, welcome to Canada. Let's go ahead and get ourselves some ground equipment. So ground ups, disarm all doors, then GSX can go ahead and start the deboarding. At the same time, ground connections, set shocks, request ground power unit. And what's the temperature? 7 degrees as per the forecast. Well, that may be a little bit cold for my taste here. But nonetheless, let's see. Those are all known messages. The hydraulic quantities are good, the engine oil quantities are good, so there's nothing for the tech lock. Well then, welcome to Canada. Let's go ahead and shut that APU down. And with that, we are done. Oh, with the beacon off, now we're done. Alright guys, thank you very much for flying along. I do hope you enjoyed the flight with us. As always, leave your feedback in the comments underneath the video. Like, comment and subscribe, and if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all again on the next one. And also, a big shout out to AMD Ryzen once again for this lovely livery.